Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lancaster County Planning Commission, August 24th, 2022. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, is available online or at the Planning Department, room 213. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. If you parked in the parking lot across the street to the north, the gate is open and no parking coupons are needed. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, commissioners and the staff, cell phones may not be used in the chamber during any portion of this meeting. We appreciate your cooperation. Please note, the Planning Commission action today is final on the following items: 1.2, Special Permit 22025, and 5.2B, Special Permit 22024. Any aggrieved person may appeal final action of the Planning Commission to the City Council or the County Board by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk within 14 days following the action of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission action on all other items is a recommendation to the City Council or County Board. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held August 10th, 2022. Is there a motion?
So moved, Campbell.
Second, Joy?
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Carried 8-0.
The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from anyone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will ask Shelley to read all the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item that is on the consent agenda, we would ask that you then stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Shelley, please call the items on the consent agenda.
The first item on the consent agenda is item 1.1A, annexation 22009 to annex approximately 0.61 acres, more or less, on property generally located at South 98th Street and Van Dorn Street. Next item, 1.1B, change of zone 17030E from AG Agricultural District to R3 Residential PUD Plan Unit Development to expand the Wandering Creek PUD to allow for the connection of Rattlesnake Road to South 98th Street with associated waivers on property generally located at South 98th Street and Van Dorn Street. Next item is County Special Permit, item 1.2, Special Permit 22025, to allow for expanded home occupation for an event center on property generally located at 7600 Panama Road. The Planning Commission action is final. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
No.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
No.
If there is anyone here wishing to speak on these consent agenda items, is there anyone wishing here to speak on these consent agenda items?
Not seeing anyone.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second, Core.
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Motion carried 8-0.
All right, I will now ask Shelley to call the request for deferral.
We did receive written communication on behalf of the applicant requesting a 2-week deferral until the next Planning Commission hearing on item 4.2, Special Permit 21037. This is for the West Van Dorn Ridge CUP Community Unit Plan for up to 10 dwelling units with associated waivers on property generally located at Southwest 70th Street and West Van Dorn Street. We also received a 2-week deferral for item 4.3, Use Permit 103D, which is to amend the North Star Crossing use permit to add one lot and a private roadway on property generally located at North 27th Street and Enterprise Road. We also received requests for deferral for item 5.1A, change of zone 22013 which is from AG Agricultural District to R3 Residential District on property generally located at 8451 Eagle Crest Road, and also deferral for the related item 5.1B special permit 22015 to approve the Paragon Townhome CUP community unit plan with up to 27 dwelling units with associated waivers on property generally located at 8451 Eagle Crest Road.
Move to defer for 2 weeks, special permit 21037.
Second, Campbell.
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Motion carried 8-0.
I move to defer use permit 103D for 2 weeks.
Second, Joy?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Motion carried 8-0.
I move that we defer change of zone 22013 and related special permit 22015 for 2 weeks.
Second, Campbell.
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Motion carried 8-0.
Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on any of these applications today? Okay, moving on. Oh, yes. Can you please?
My name is Vern Schulte, and I'm here on behalf of Crossbridge Christian Church, and I would like to
I was just say which item?
It would be change of zone. Looks like use permit 103D.
And just before you testify, I want to make sure that you know that if you testify today, then you can only testify once on the matter.
Oh, understand.
Okay, good.
Yep, perfect. That may actually work out better in the long
Okay.
run anyway. Again, my name is Vern Schulte. I'm here on behalf of Crossbridge Christian Church. We are the northern neighbor to this development. Again, we're for the development. We have said that from the beginning. We do have a few concerns, though, that I would like to bring to the attention of the commission. Those three concerns for us would be communication, traffic, and drainage. And some of these are coming from a point of ignorance on our part. Right? We're not the geotechnical experts. We're not the hydrodynamic experts. We're just the concerned next door neighbor, I guess. So first off, on communication, we had an issue where Enterprise Drive did get blocked. There was some trenching done. We had appeared in front of this commission as well as the city council and had conversations regarding communication as to when that might occur, because that is a primary entrance for our tenant daycare. We were assured at that time through all of the meetings that there would be ample notice given to us, daycare, et cetera, all parties, of when that might occur. Unfortunately, we did not receive any communication, whether that be email, phone call, letter, et cetera, before it began, which kind of put a hardship on our tenant daycare, as the only way we found out about it was somewhere between a half a dozen and a dozen members, families of the daycare ended up going down Enterprise, as it was not closed at the top. It was only closed on the north end. So they ended up driving down, seeing the heavy equipment at work, had to back up, and come back down the road. Again, we also didn't find out before our Sunday service, so we had some parishioners as well that had to go through the very similar thing. Relying on the communication from the developer as promised did not occur. The second issue I would like to talk about is traffic. Not a traffic engineer either. We would ask for some further explanation on some of the amendments being asked for in this amendment. As it pertains to traffic, it seemed like there was a lot of private roadway usage. We just want to determine what traffic patterns might change and how that might affect our northern. There's a northern egress off of this property onto our property, which then would lead you to 27th Street. Again, we're not sure there's a concern, but we don't know. So we would like further explanation on that. And then also from the beginning, we've also had several conversations in front of this board about drainage. We had some pretty heavy concerns about getting water off of that property and going from a natural dirt surface, how it would get naturally absorbed and sent to the east, to eventually get into Salt Creek, to now going to hardscape drains, water moving much faster in higher quantities. What does that look like for us as an upstream drainage neighbor that already has our own drainage issues going into Salt Creek? We did notice there was an upgrading in some pipe, up to a 36-inch drain pipe. Again, we don't know what that does for us, but we would like some further information from the developer on that, how that might affect our drainage issues that we have had and that we have already expressed to this commission.
Thank you. Any questions?
Have you spoken with Ella, with the city yet, on any of those concerns?
No.
Let me make an introduction. Maybe that's something in the future.
That'd be
Her,
great.
on that agenda is her email address, and I bet you if you reached out, that might be a good place to start.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have the right name, right?
Emma?
Yeah. Emma, not Ella. I apologize, Emma. I was just correcting the name. I don't think we needed anything else.
Sorry. Emma Martin, planner, 555 South 10th Street, Lincoln. Bob Simmering, would you come and help us out?
So this isn't a public hearing, it was just.
Oh, I apologize. Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Those questions, that is something that we'll have to look into. We can get back to to you in about 2 weeks. If you contact us and we get your information, that'll be awesome. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. All right. Are you also wanting to speak on an item that was deferred? Okay.
So hi, my name is Ted Wolfram. I live at 1040 North 92nd Street here in Lincoln, and I'm going to be speaking about item 51A, and really more specifically to 51B. That's the special permit for 22015 to approve the Paragon Townhome CUP. And as we talk about this, I really want to say, first of all, I'm not opposed. I really don't have a difference one way or the other with the development that's going to be going in there. I had an opportunity to speak with the developer, and I kind of like what's going on, what he's planning on putting in there. Just have several concerns that we wanted to raise as part of Sunrise Estates. Sunrise Estates is the community I live in, and we're just south of where this development is going to be going into. And I do have one item I wanted to put up on the screen. And I realize that this is not going to be voted on until next time, or actually be talked about. But this is the third or fourth time I've come up here to be able to talk about this, and it keeps getting deferred. So to be able to save me from traveling again, I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and speak today. So what you're looking at here is really a rather large picture, which incorporates part of Sunrise Estates, which is on the far right and on the south. The area that's in the dirt, that's part of the 8801 project, which is those apartments that are being built there along with townhomes. And if you can see right here, this is Paragon Road, and right over here is Paragon Court. So it makes sense to me that we would want to put something in here because it really ties those two together. One of the things that this is going to provide, I think also, and we're going to talk about this in a minute about the traffic, is we wanted to see about 88th Street is right here. I don't know if you can see that little part. Part of the development is to be able to connect that to that and make kind of a T right up here. The thought is, do we really need to put this in here? Because I know one of the requirements for putting in these types of things is we want to make sure that LFR has access to these these homes and so forth. The fact that we've opened up Duane Lane right over here and North 92nd Street right over here, that's providing additional access for LFR to be able to get in there. Also, you're going to be able to see that we can go all the way out here to Holdridge. We can also come this direction. We get to Holdridge and 84th, which is off on the left hand of the screen. So I think that requirement is met. So by leaving this as a cul-de-sac right here, or a dead end coming out of Sunrise Estates, I really don't see where that would be an issue because LFR requirements are being met. We would save the developer some construction cost and infrastructure cost there because we wouldn't have to tie those two together. This would also provide the developer maybe even another lot where they might be able to add another home or something like that that they could build into that process as well. So one of the things we wanted to raise here is if this could be addressed as saying, let's not open 88th Street, let's leave it closed, a cul-de-sac for the neighbors down there so it's more private like they've enjoyed for the past 25 years. And it still provides the access that's required for these townhomes. Secondly, probably the biggest concern we have is happens to be stormwater runoff. With the development of the 8801 project, I know there was a lot of talk about stormwater runoff, and there was a retention pond that was built down here in this corner, in the bottom right-hand corner. There's also a retention pond that's also up here that's just adjacent to Holdridge. And our concern is, with the new one that was developed down here, we've been having some issues because of silt. A lot of silt now with the rain. It keeps running down there, filling this up. It's not draining. It's becoming a mosquito haven for mosquitoes to breed. Some of this silt is running over the retention pond and it's filling up right down here, which is part of the Stevens Creek watershed. So we want to be able to try to maintain the integrity of that watershed down there with getting additional silt there. Our concern is that if we put more stormwater drainage up here that's going to run straight down the hill because it is a large grade, will that add more stress on this particular retention pond. Now, that has given us some uneasy feeling about retention ponds. I know the developer's got a retention pond planned for right here. My thought is, do we even need to add a retention pond? Is it a possibility to be able to direct the water to the north, up to that retention pond, or even to the west?
At 5 minutes, you have 1 more minute.
Okay. Or go to the west, which might feed into an already existing stormwater runoff system that's part of Sunrise Hills. So this is something we would like to see if we could get addressed before this actually gets voted on. Lastly, what I wanted to say was when we worked with the development over here for the 8801 project, we worked with the developer and they were able to come up with a plan with Sunrise Estates to provide fencing completely around on the east and on the south of the property line, so that we're putting a little additional barrier between going from acreages to what used to be farmland to now acreages and 540 new apartments and townhomes. What we'd like to request is that if we could put into the application, or if the developer could include in the application, that fencing would also be required on the southern border of that property to be able to maintain that type of integrity to keep some of that noise down. So these are the concerns. Again, we're not necessarily against this, but we would like to see if we couldn't get these three items addressed to the developer and included into the application. And that's all I got. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Ted.
Again, have you talked to George?
I have not talked to George. I have talked to the developer, but it's just been in conversation, so I have not talked with George on that.
Yeah,
and I see George is right over there, so I know where he is, so I can reach out to George afterwards.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on any of the items that are being deferred? Okay. We will now proceed to the public hearing items on the agenda. Prior to staff making a brief presentation, each staff person should state their name, agency, and address. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to the Planning Commission members and/or included as part of the record, please provide that information to the clerk for distribution. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The timer will go off after 4 minutes, then you will have 1 minute to wrap up your testimony. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the Commission votes to defer action or to continue the public hearing. Shelley, please call the first public hearing item.
First public hearing item is item 4.1, change of zone 22023, Turbine Flask Plan Unit Development for a change of zone from I-1 Industrial District and H3 Highway Commercial District to B3 Commercial District PUD Plan Unit Development, a change of zone from R6 Residential District to B3 Commercial District PUD, and a change of zone from R6 Residential District to R6 PUD with adjustments to the zoning and subdivision ordinance to B3 Commercial District PUD with adjustments to the zoning subdivision ordinance on property generally located at North 22nd Street and Y Street. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this application?
Yes.
Yeah, so Ben reached out to me to get in contact with the neighborhood organization. I sent the information from the city to the neighborhood organization, and then there was a back and forth with the neighborhood organization on their lack of opinion. That's the word I'm going to use. So that's it.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting any of this site to be disclosed?
No. All right, you're up.
Good afternoon, Ben Callahan with the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street, 68508. A map here. So this is a request for approximately 29.5 acres for a change of zone to allow for a B3 and R6 PUD. The area is located just east of the University of Nebraska campus along Antelope Valley Parkway. Majority of the area is zoned I-1. Over half of the site is the original Cushman site that's going to be redeveloped by the university. And what we're proposing is B3 commercial to be a little more compatible with the existing residential that surrounds the area, and as well as its proximity to the university. A little background on why this is planning initiated is the Bay High School that's going to be located on Y Street had come forward and wanted to provide educational services within that building. So that started the conversation on whether, because currently educational services would not be allowed in industrial. So planning started looking at a possible PUD that would be more compatible with the area, and as well as the South Cushman site developing with residential. So this is a copy. The PUD would be this one page that would follow the B3 and then R6 zoning. A couple of things we looked at were land uses that would be allowed. So we did make a modification to allow residential units on the first floor for any future multifamily, as well as contractor services and warehouses still being permitted, as they're thought to be less intensive as your traditional I-1 zoning that may have manufacturing or chemicals. And then also to allow the public and private elementary services. The other options we put in here were parking to give some flexibility, one parking stall per dwelling unit, and then non-residential would follow 1 per 1,000 square feet. The density was reduced to 700 square feet. Generally B3 would require 1,000. So this would be something equivalent to R7 zoning. And then also the height was going to be allowed at 75 feet, which is currently what I-1 would allow today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I just have a clarifying question around the zoning. So if you can put that document back up. So for the land use, typically for the B3 zoning, residential dwelling units are not allowed first floor?
Correct. They'd be
okay.
Retail or commercial use on the first floor.
Got it. Okay. And then the second one is from a density perspective, typically what is the parking allowance?
I believe for B3, let's see. For B3, it would be 1 per dwelling unit.
Okay.
So it's staying with that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I think any other questions at this time? Okay, thanks, Ben. All right, applicant,
He is
The applicant, because it's been initiated by planning, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Was planning initiated, but I know we do have representatives from the Bay here as well, if you have any questions.
I guess my question that I was gonna ask them, but I will ask you too, is there, because the school had been announced a long time ago, why are we just now seeing the planning zoning action after the school year started?
And I do believe a little bit of some confusion with the use, and when it came time to file with permits for the interior, that's when it was recognized that the proposed use actually wouldn't be allowed in the current zoning.
Thanks.
The
Yeah,
Bay is, the school at the Bay is currently not at the Bay. Is
right,
that
it's at the zoo because
because of this?
this.
Okay.
Okay, do we have testimony in support of this application? Any neutral testimony about this application or testimony in opposition? All right, any questions for staff? All right,
Move to close public hearing?
Second, Core.
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost. Public
Yes.
hearing closed.
I would move to approve change of zone 22023.
Second, Core.
Ball,
Yes.
Oh, do we need discussion?
wait, we can have discussion. I think we may have some discussion, sorry.
I have things to say.
Yeah. All right, discussion.
I think this is very important to get the proper zoning for the university to move forward with its planned development of the Cushman property. And obviously, with the new school at the Bay, I think it's needed to change the zone and get that functioning.
I think this is a good step. This would have come eventually. It's just a good compromise between what's there now and what it's going to be in the future. And I think this does a good job of, kind of marrying those two different zoning uses or codes that are applied right now, and looking forward to the future.
So this one gave me a little step back. It's right on the edge of my neighborhood, so it's personal, right? The Bay is fabulous. We love the Bay. Want the school in there, no doubt on that. There is a parking problem on Y Street. We're concerned with B3 and multi-unit dwellings that we're going to have a further parking spot. Also, as a person who uses a wheelchair, and accessibility is an issue. If you're zoning something B3, to me, that's a business district, and the city needs to come in and put accessible spots for people to park as well, which currently, I mean, technically they're required everywhere, don't get me wrong. I would never say, oh my gosh, you have to put an accessible stall in the middle of a residential neighborhood unless it was an issue. But I think when you're starting to transform something into a business district, the city should be looking at, we need accessible places to park as well. So I'm gonna say that now, it will come up later by other channels that, okay, parking's an issue, we need accessible stalls, because it's already an issue when Turbine Flats has events. There's not parking. When the Bay has events, I've had parking trouble. Yes, I've been there. So, but other than that, I am in support of it, but I am worried about if we're putting large multi-unit plexes in here and only requiring one stall, what's that gonna look like for an already area that has a huge parking problem because of university students, staff, etc. So if you come to a waiver for a parking on a apartment complex, I will say no right off the get-go, so don't come to me. There you go. But other than that, I do support it, and I'm so excited for the Bay to have a school in it.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, Shelley.
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Carried 8-0. Next items for continue public hearing for item 5.2A, change of zone 22021 from AGR Agricultural Residential District to R3 Residential District on property generally located at Linwood Lane and Avon Lane, and related item 5.2B, special permit 22024 to approve the Sunrise Villas CUP Community Unit Plan with up to 26 dwelling units with associated waivers, also on property generally located at Linwood Lane and Avon Lane. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these applications?
No.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting any of the site to be disclosed?
No. Hi, George.
Hi, George Wesselaw, Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. So this item was delayed 2 weeks to work out a solution for the street extension of Linwood Lane. The applicant did work with staff. A solution was found. It will avoid the necessity for a waiver and will involve modified design of the street. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. We did receive the staff memo outlining all of that, so appreciate that. Do people have additional questions for George at this time? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Because this public hearing was continued, we can also take testimony from, is there additional testimony from the applicant?
Good afternoon, Tom Beckius, 6333 Apples Way, Suite 115. Just wanted to thank George and the city for continued discussions, and we are in full support of the compromise as proposed.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Beckius? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, is there testimony in support? Now, if you already commented on this application before it was continued, you've already had your chance, but if there are other people here who would like to speak in support, now is the time. All right, neutral testimony or testimony in opposition? I believe we do have a Zoom testifier today.
Nope, can't hear you.
Oh, we're not able to hear you. Hold on just a second. All right, you want to try again? Name and address. Yep.
John Wiltsey, 630 Linwood Lane, Lincoln, 68505. Can you hear me now?
I hear you. Thank you.
I got the understanding that the request for waiver of the street improvement for this special permit was going to be denied. And I hope it will be, because it proposed ending the street improvement to the south of the culvert on Linwood Lane. And it just didn't make any sense to try and expect the remainder of that street to be improved and paid for by Outlot B. Oh, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other staff questions?
George, do you want to come up just to clarify?
Yes, George Wesselhoff, Planning Department. So prior to the most recent memo, there was a waiver request to not pave from the north edge of this lot to the north edge of Outlot A. So that was a prior request. That waiver request is no longer needed. We've come to this agreement to pave it. It will meet standards, just modified slightly to do that.
So I think the testifier mentioned south, or, Linwood Lane from, this little culvert south will still be updated to city standards. It's just anything north of that won't be brought up to city standards yet.
Correct, not yet, but it will be when this area to the north would be developed, yes.
When the area to the north develops, at that point, will they widen the culvert, or are we giving them permission to keep that culvert narrow?
I think the proposal is to keep it as is.
Okay.
Or as proposed.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any applicant rebuttal? Okay. All right.
Move we close the public hearing?
Second, Ball?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
I would move that we approve change of zone 22021.
Second, Joy?
I applaud the planning department and the applicant for solving the issue that bothered many of us on who should pay and how and so on. So I'm very pleased with the results and we'll be supporting this.
I want to thank the applicant for having a neighborhood meeting. I believe that he did that. And then also for allowing the extra time to kind of flush some of these details out and everyone working together to come up with a good compromise for both parties.
I concur. I appreciate the neighborhood association being so involved. I know you've been dealing with a lot of changes, and so thank you for continuing to work with the developer and with the city, and thank you to our applicant and our city planning staff for working out a solution that was acceptable to everyone. So thank you. All right, Shelley?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Motion carried, 8-0.
I would move that we approve special permit 22024.
Second, Joy?
We're good to go ahead, Shelley.
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Carried 8-0.
I would move that we adjourn.
Second, Joy?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Adjourned.